I grew weary of the constant attention from admirers, yet I found myself irresistibly drawn to the one woman who never seemed to notice me at all. The bell above the door of the salty anchor chimed softly, a melody often reserved for the local fishermen seeking their early morning brew before the sun kissed the horizon. For those wandering through the misty coastal streets today, a delightful surprise awaits as Savannah Ray makes her enchanting entrance. Her signature platinum hair cascaded gracefully beneath a well-loved Dodgers cap, while oversized sunglasses veiled half her enchanting visage, adding an air of mystery to her allure. Slipped inside the embrace of lingering aromas, where the rich scent of strong coffee mingled with the savory essence of fried onions, creating a tapestry of warmth and nostalgia. Surrounded by a striking juxtaposition to the lavish atmosphere and Lily's presence on the tour bus, she released the tension that had been coiling within her. With her shoulders relaxing ever so slightly, she discreetly left her security detail 2 blocks behind, gliding through the alleyways like a whisper in the night. In a world where chaos reigned, a fugitive sought solace, yearning for a fleeting moment free from the blinding lights and the cacophony of adoring fans. The diner stood in serene contrast, a sanctuary of tranquility amidst the storm. In the gentle embrace of the mid-afternoon, a serene stillness enveloped the cozy establishment. A pair of weathered regulars cradled their steaming mugs at the counter, their voices weaving a soft tapestry of conversation that floated through the air. Whisper, the only other sound was the gentle swish thump of a cloth on the smooth surface as a fiery-haired waitress diligently cleaned. In a cozy corner, Savannah gracefully settled into a booth by the window, the soft light filtering through the dusty leaves of a plastic ficus, creating an intimate atmosphere around her. With a swift motion, she pulled the cap down, her heart racing wildly as she stood before the door. The steady beat of footsteps echoed softly against her ribs, drawing nearer with a calm assurance as the sun-drenched Savannah stretched endlessly before her. She steeled herself for the breathless gasp, the nervous stammer, the frantic search for her phone, the unavoidable moment that would change everything, an unexpected plea for a glimpse or a signature that disrupted the tranquility of the moment. Seeking solace. Your voice was flat, slightly raspy, like sandpaper gliding over driftwood, devoid of any tremor. With a gentle flutter of her heart, Savannah glanced upward, her breath catching in a moment of unexpected recognition as she pushed her hair aside. With her sunglasses perched atop her head, Maeve stood there, the order pad ready in her hands, anticipation dancing in the air around her. Her fiery red hair was pulled back in a messy knot as she tapped impatiently against the vinyl cover, the rhythm echoing her restless spirit. Escaping tendrils framing a face untouched by artifice, revealing a raw and unguarded beauty. Her eyes sparkled with a clarity that transcended mere professional curiosity, emerald hues intertwined with the captivating azure of Savannah's renowned eyes, their gaze lingering on her face without a hint of hesitation. She registered the shimmering platinum hair now framing the features that had graced countless magazine covers, and in that moment, nothing else mattered. Nothing. Not a flicker of intrigue, not a whisper of wonder, just the tired endurance of someone who would prefer to be tidying up that booth. Savannah found herself momentarily at a loss for words. It had been years since someone gazed at her as if she were merely another patron. It was both startling and invigorating, utterly surreal. She stumbled over her words, her usual grace momentarily lost. As she reached for the coffee, in the dim light of the cafe, Maeve's hand danced across the page, crafting a single, elegant line that whispered of hunger and longing. Anything to eat, she penned, her heart fluttering at the thought of the day's specials, each one a promise waiting to be savored. The meatloaf had lost its tender charm, now a bit too dry for comfort, yet the fries offered a glimmer of satisfaction. Savannah blinked, her thoughts swirling like the evening breeze, and whispered a soft, reluctant no, the subtle hint of the kale salad she was famous for, without any adoration for her mere existence. Only the meatloaf, please, and just the coffee. Thank you, Maeve, for your subtle acknowledgement. As I turned away, a wave of emotions washed over me. No, Miss Ray, no, I exclaimed, my heart racing. Oh my God, I adore your music. It's just the gentle retreat of her faded blue uniform, the sturdy saws of her well-loved sneakers squeaking softly on the linoleum. Savannah watched her leave, a peculiar warmth blossoming in her chest that had nothing to do with the moment itself. Fleeing from the relentless gaze of the world, it was the comforting embrace of anonymity that enveloped me. Or perhaps it was the thrill of being both hidden and yet deeply observed. Deemed utterly unremarkable, Maeve had not overlooked her. she would acknowledge her presence with a subtle grace that spoke volumes. A delicate dance of recognition in the air between them, an engagement she might offer to a wayward salt shaker, polished and precise, yet lacking any hint of heartfelt connection. As May re-entered the room, her hands cradled a thick ceramic mug, steam curling from the rich, dark liquid within. With a casual yet deliberate motion, Savannah set it down, her gaze drifting to the waitress, taking in the delicate freckles that danced across her cheeks, the roughened knuckles clutching the coffee pot, the determined line of her jaw. Maeve silently refilled the old-timer's cups, her movements graceful and fluid, as she wiped the counter with a steady rhythm that spoke of familiarity and care, unaware of the pop star just 3 feet away, who was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, grappling with a fleeting existential crisis ignited by sheer. With a hint of uncertainty, Savannah brought the cup to her lips, the bitter brew swirling within. It was dreadful, a taste that lingered uninvited, powerful enough to peel away layers. It was the most captivating flavor she had encountered in ages. She concealed a tiny, astonished smile behind the mug. A spark of curiosity danced in the air. It was more like an unspoken challenge lingered in the air, one she had never realized she craved. The cozy diner, filled with the comforting aroma of sizzling grease, enveloped her in a warm embrace. The aloof redhead. It was as if she had finally inhaled the first genuine breath in ages. Long time, and she found she desperately wanted to take another part, to flirt, and with a slight frown, the dreadful coffee unexpectedly became Savannah's cherished drink within just 2 days. Later, she was back at the Salty Anchor sliding into the same booth the Dodgers. She wore her cap, but today, the absence of her sunglasses was striking. She wasn't in the shadows. She concealed herself, her heart racing as Maeve appeared beside the table, exuding an air of calm that seemed to slow time itself. With an air of determination, she held the order pad with grace, her gaze sweeping over Savannah, taking in the stark beauty that lay before her. The luxurious silk blouse, effortlessly draping beneath a chic leather jacket, hints at a sophisticated allure that captivates the senses. Disguise her expression didn't flicker. Coffee, Savannah flashed her most, an enchanting smile that captivated hearts and sparked countless dreams. Interviewers, you have the right to know, she said, her voice a warm, inviting honey. With a subtle grace, she inquired discreetly. The cook yesterday, M's pen lingered in the air, a moment of hesitation hanging between them. That's what it says on the tag, she replied, her voice devoid of warmth. She nodded towards the slightly crooked plastic name badge pinned to her apron. Coffee. Absolutely. Black. Just like yesterday. You remembered. Savannah leaned in a little closer, resting her chin delicately. With her hand extended, her blue eyes sparkled with warmth and allure. Though truthfully, I might require, after the tumultuous morning I've endured, I crave something more potent. The paparazzi swarm around me like relentless seagulls, chaotic and unyielding. As Maeve hastily jotted down her thoughts, in the quaint little cafe by the shore, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the salty breeze. Seagulls circled above, their cries echoing the unspoken stories of the ocean. They had a role to play, tirelessly cleaning up the remnants of the sea. Yet she remained oblivious to their diligent work, lost in her own thoughts, her gaze fixed on the horizon. On this Tuesday, as the sun cast a warm glow, the special of the day was clam chowder. Yet, amidst the bustling atmosphere, it was Savannah's smile that truly captivated hearts, leaving everything else in the background. Waver, but a spark of challenge ignited in her eyes. Flattery bypassed time. For a charm offensive, just the coffee for now. Gorgeous, she purred, letting the endearments lingered in the air as she offered a slow, deliberate wink, the atmosphere around them shifting, hinting that perhaps the view was finally on the verge of transformation. Met her gaze. Her green eyes held no warmth, no fluster, just a weary sort of depth. Her gaze lingered as if she were scrutinizing a stubborn blemish on a cherished canvas. The scenery unfolding before her, from the window seat of booth 6, she gazed at the charming harbors, her pen tapping softly against the table as thoughts of longing filled her heart. As the aroma of coffee wafted through the air, Maeve turned, and Savannah called after her, her voice rising with the playful lilt. Carrie sighed softly, glancing at Maeve with a hint of longing in her eyes. Hey, Maeve! Do you ever feel weary from the endless cycle of the service industry? Imagine the thrill of knowing individuals who could grant you access to exclusive areas, offer introductions that could change your life, or even present you with a job opportunity that steers clear of the mundane, she hinted with a wave of her hand. Gazing absently at the sticky laminate tabletop, time seemed to pause as everything turned slowly around me. A wisp of amusement, tinged with annoyance, danced at the corner of her mouth. Backstage passes to what promises to be an enthralling seminar on deep fryer maintenance. How captivating she finds it. She raised an eyebrow, a hint of intrigue in her gaze, As the reality of her situation settled in, this was what kept her grounded, a stark contrast to the illusions that surrounded her. His gaze lingered over Savannah's undeniably exquisite attire before returning to the captivating beauty of her face. Framed by her rich, dark hair, she watched him walk away, a tumultuous blend of frustration and exhilaration swirling within her. She had been turned down, cast aside, nearly insulted, and it was exhilarating, no flattery, no ulterior motives, just an unyielding veil of indifference, tinged with a playful sarcasm. It was a dialect she had yet to master. After what felt like an eternity, perhaps even a lifetime, she returned, cradling the mug in her hands, the dark liquid swirling within, a promise of warmth and comfort. With a heart racing like a wild stallion, she placed it perilously near the edge, the sound of its gentle thud echoing in the charged air. Savannah seized the moment, her voice a sultry whisper. "Careful there. Red," she playfully teased, using the nickname with intention. "I wouldn't want you to spill on me. This jacket costs more than your..." Each week, the take-home felt like a challenge, a subtle prod to gauge her resilience and determination, stir any emotion beyond a mere shrug. Maeve lingered, the coffee pot remaining still. With a steady gaze, she locked eyes with Savannah. Then, with a tantalizing slowness, allowed her hand to slip away. Her gaze traveled down the jacket and back up, a hint of intrigue in her voice as she stated, "Looks like it." Free from jealousy or admiration, simply expressing a truth, appears reluctant to display it openly. It may bear the marks of coffee stains or the occasional grease splatter, and she offered a delicate, almost shy smile. With a subtle shrug, she turned to walk away, but then paused. Glancing back with a lingering gaze, she glanced back over her shoulder, a spark of mischief in her eyes. "Anything else?" she asked, her voice laced with playful intrigue. "Seriously, I got tables," Savannah burst out, her excitement palpable. Her laughter rang out, a delightful and unexpected melody that danced through the stillness of the cozy diner. "No, Maeve, that's all for now." She held the waitress's gaze, her own eyes shimmering with a hint of unspoken longing. With a spark of genuine amusement and a newfound determination. "You truly are something else. You know." Maeve's response was barely a whisper. With a playful arch of her eyebrow and a nonchalant "yep," she vanished, gracefully weaving through the tables like a whisper in the night. With that same pragmatic efficiency, Savannah sipped her less-than-ideal coffee. Bitterness had become a familiar companion, and as she withdrew a crisp $100 bill from her wallet, it felt like a bittersweet reminder of the choices she had made, far surpassing the price of the coffee. She delicately placed it beneath the mug, a subtle gesture filled with unspoken affection. Discovering a crumpled piece of receipt paper nestled in her pocket, she let her pen dance across the surface, her elegant, flowing handwriting spilling forth her thoughts. With a gentle sigh, she carefully tucked it away, a secret waiting to be unveiled. With a gentle grace, Maeve found herself at the center of the moment, her heart fluttering as she circled back to the table. She paused, her fingers brushing against the empty mug, a small smile playing on her lips as she picked it up. Her expression remained steadfast, yet her gaze shifted to the note, a spark of intrigue igniting within her eyes as she thought of Savannah, watched intently, holding her breath as she read the note. "You're cute when you ignore." For a fleeting moment, Savannah believed she caught a glimpse of the softest blush rising to the surface. Maeve's neck vanished beneath the collar of her uniform. Or perhaps it was just the fluorescent lights. Maeve's fingers tightened almost imperceptibly on the bill she dared not glance at. Savannah sat in her booth, her expression unchanged and her silence heavy, as if the world around her faded into a distant hum. She tucked the money away, her fingers curling tightly around the crumpled note as she turned on her heel, casting aside the mug with a sense of finality, and the crumpled paper fell into the bus tub with a soft clatter as Savannah leaned back, lost in thought. A slow, satisfied smile began to spread across her face. It had been far too long since she had felt the warmth of such a smile. She was certain of it now. There hadn't been a blush, not even a frown aimed her way. Yet, she had received the sensation of a tiny crumpled paper bill, $100, ignited a spark of triumph within me, a sweet taste of victory that lingered in the air, an extravagant and peculiar triumph, and she eagerly anticipated the chance to surrender once more on the morrow. Part 3. The familiar rhythm of the diner began to weave Savannah's visits to the salty anchor into the fabric of everyday life, transforming her once rare appearances into a cherished ritual. She wasn't merely passing through, she was laying her heart on the line at the slightly sticky booth by the dusty ficus, her schedule once shaped by the rhythm of recording sessions, the allure of photo shoots, and the excitement of talk show appearances now beautifully arranged. In that cherished corner of the diner, where the afternoon light danced through the windows, she settled in like a beloved character, as familiar as the weathered fishermen who frequented the place. As they cradled their third cups of coffee, Maeve steadfastly upheld her impenetrable wall of indifference. One fateful day, Savannah decided to explore the depths of her creativity, arriving in a stunning ensemble that captured the essence of her spirit. Absurdly large novelty sunglasses designed in the shape of stars, considered, "These might help me blend in," she announced cheerfully as Maeve approached, pausing in her writing of coffee bank. "Blend in with what?" "A gathering of animated personas." She waved her pen towards the window. "Still holds a charm." Booth 6. Another day. Savannah arrived with a well-worn paperback, rich in history and emotion, book entirely unlike her public persona. She feigned deep engagement as she turned the pages with a delicate touch. As Maeve glided by, she gracefully refilled her water glass, her silence speaking volumes, before later tidying up the space with a gentle touch. At the table, she lingered, her gaze fixed on page 42. The Duke's intentions were laid bare, a truth too glaring to ignore. She urged him to dig deeper, to unveil the layers beneath. Savannah nearly choked on her terrible coffee, a delighted grin spreading across her face as she noticed the cracks in Maeve's. The armor was so finely crafted that it appeared almost invisible, detectable only by the keenest of eyes. And Savannah was nothing if not consumed by her thoughts. She meticulously noted the delicate changes, the slight delay in the moment it took Maeve to break away, Savannah's check from her order pad, the way she would occasionally lean in just a touch too close while pouring the coffee, lingered in the air like an unspoken promise. His arm nearly grazed Savannah's shoulder, but she stepped back suddenly, the air between them charged with unspoken tension. An almost imperceptible sigh slipped from her lips as Savannah began to weave one of her delightfully outrageous tales regarding her manager's recent outburst. Yet the most revealing signs emerged not from Maeve herself, but rather from her colleagues. In the warm afternoon light, Savannah recounted her ill-fated attempt at surfing that morning, weaving in humorous details that made the tale all the more entertaining. With a flourish, she mimed the act of wiping away the remnants of a moment, her movements infused with a reluctant grace that spoke volumes. A fleeting twitch danced at the corner of Maeve's mouth as she hurriedly scribbled an order at the counter, only to vanish instantly, replaced by her familiar, warm smile. As the board mask hung in the air, Dave, the burly cook with a heart as warm as his kitchen, leaned through the service window, his grease-splattered apron a testament to his dedication and charm. He caught Savannah's eye once more, offering her a slow, knowing wink that sent a thrill through her heart. Savannah arrived, drenched from an unexpected downpour, her Dodgers cap dripping. "Rough seas out there. Red," she said, a playful glint in her eye. She emerged, shaking droplets from her hair like a playful golden retriever, intentionally splattering the vinyl seat that Maeve had tossed her way. A bar towel was tossed her way with a grunt. "Use that. The floor's wet enough." As she turned to grab the coffee pot, "Jenny," the cheerful teenage waitress chimed as she sidled up to Savannah's table. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Oh my God," she whispered, casting a nervous glance towards Maeve's back. Her cheeks flushed as he entered the room, a vivid crimson hue spreading across her face. What have you done to her, my love? I've never witnessed anything like this before." Savannah experienced a wave of exhilaration as, in that fleeting moment, it overshadowed her brilliance. As she softly whispered, her gaze lingering on the scene before her, Maeve's rigid stance as she served coffee to the fisherman transformed the brew into a pivotal figure in the unfolding tale. In their peculiar waltz, Savannah felt the weight of its clumsiness, while Maeve sensed that Savannah was all too aware of the awkwardness enveloping them, terrible yet commanding. It served as the foundation of their connection until Savannah made her choice to escalate one Tuesday during the anticipated clam chowder special announcement. Savannah placed a sleek, with a soft clunk, the matte black thermos settled on the table, causing Maeve to pause mid-sentence, her thoughts momentarily drifting away. With her pen poised delicately above the pad, her gaze danced between the thermos and Savannah's face, a fleeting spark of true bewilderment crossing her features, shattering the facade of indifference. She inquired, "What's that?" "My coffee," Savannah declared, as she unscrewed the lid, releasing the rich aroma that enveloped her senses. The intricate scent of luxurious, flawlessly roasted beans enveloped in the cozy embrace of the diner. The familiar greasy scent lingered in the air, mingling with the rich aroma of Ethiopian coffee. As I savored the moment, thoughts of you danced in my mind, and I couldn't help but wish to share this experience, perhaps over a calming session of yoga, followed by the perfect pour-over. I thought I'd save you a seat in my heart. The trouble she poured the dark liquid into the thick diner mug she'd kept on the table. Maeve stared at the mug. Then, back at the thermos, Savannah caught a glimpse of something that stirred within her, a flicker of offense, or perhaps a deeper, more profound realization. In utter disbelief, she remarked flatly, "You brought your own coffee." He simply replied, "Yep, To a diner. Specifically, Savannah smiled sweetly at the diner in your section, her gaze capturing Maeve's attention and leaving a lingering warmth in the air. With a subtle tightening, the order pad closed with a definitive snap. Echoing the unspoken tension in the air, she gazed into Savannah's eyes, her voice steady and unwavering. We have a policy. No outside beverages allowed. Savannah leaned back, her demeanor exuding a captivating innocence. Do you? She asked, a hint of playful curiosity in her voice. I must have missed the sign there. In a moment filled with unspoken tension, Maeve's voice came through, sharp and precise, as if each word was carefully chosen. Savannah, caught in the whirlwind of emotions, took a breath. Feeling the weight of the moment settle around her, she took a slow, deliberate sip from the diner mug, filled with her own exquisite brew, savoring the moment, made a grand display of relishing it. Oh so delectable, surely breaching numerous health regulations. In the charged atmosphere, a standoff unfolded, the low hum of the refrigerators weaving through the silence, drawing Dave deeper into the moment. She watched, heart racing. As the spatula hung frozen in midair, a moment suspended in time, Jenny held her breath, anticipation swirling within her, until finally, Mayave reached out, breaking the spell, not for the thermos, but for the cherished diner mug that Savannah often sipped from. She picked it up, her movements graceful and deliberate. Fine, she said, her voice lacking any warmth. With a graceful inflection, she turned and glided towards the kitchen, the mug cradled in her hands like a piece of tainted evidence. Savannah observed her every move, captivated, her lips curled into a slow smile, a hint of triumph or perhaps defeat dancing in her eyes. She couldn't quite tell which it was. She reveled in the fact that she had gotten under Maeve's skin, disrupting the carefully crafted routine and provoking a reaction that was unexpected and thrilling. Her sarcasm was a reaction that felt suspiciously like the height of May. Moments later, she returned with a clean diner, a glimmer of mischief in her eyes. A mug sat on the table before Savannah, placed with a hint of impatience as she spoke, her voice laced with unspoken emotions. Her green eyes locked onto Savannah's, igniting a spark that transcended mere boredom. It was a challenge, perhaps annoyance, and maybe even a whisper of something deeper. With a hint of playful reluctance, she regarded the vessel before her. No offer to pour was made, yet the air was thick with unspoken possibilities. She didn't inquire if Savannah required anything further. Instead, she stood there with her arms crossed, a silent sentinel of unresolved tension. As she waited, Savannah's smile brightened, pouring her luxurious coffee into the rich, thick brew. With a rimmed mug in hand, she smiled softly. Thanks, Red. Perfect. Maeve responded with a single, sharp nod. Don't mention it. She pivoted sharply, her back straight and her steps purposeful, a newfound tension radiating from her shoulders as she left the service window behind. Where Dave stood watching, he chuckled softly, his voice carrying just enough for Savannah to catch the words, only you, Rye. As Savannah savored her flawless cup of coffee, she couldn't help but notice the way Maeve, the icy Queen O'Sullivan, became visibly agitated over a mere thermos. The tension in the air was palpable, a spark igniting between them. With a touch of fervor, she wiped down the counter, banishing the remnants of the dreadful diner coffee that had once lingered in the air, acquired an intriguing and costly thermos, uniquely shaped, and Savannah. I wouldn't exchange it for 1,000 shimmering accolades. The thrill of the pursuit, the tantalizing tease, the small yet fierce heart, the reaction stirred within her, revealing the most genuine bond she had experienced in years. She was enthralled entirely, and Maeve's deepening frown only intensified the allure of the moment. 4 cinnamon roll confessions. The thermos transformed into a cherished companion, always present in every moment. She arrived in Savannah, placing the cup on the table with a purposeful clunk. As she poured her rich coffee into the pristine mug, a sense of anticipation filled the air, delivered with a sharp precision. They lingered in anticipation as the ceremony unfolded into their newfound dialect, devoid of Savannah's bold allure, and Maeve's sharp quips replaced by a tense, unspoken confrontation over delicate porcelain. Amidst the gleaming surface of stainless steel, a quiet tension simmered, hinting at unspoken desires and the promise of something more. As Savannah stood on the precipice of change, she ceased her relentless efforts, the playful glances, the extravagant tales, and the intentional teasing gradually diminished. Yet, she continued to carry in the cozy corner of the cafe, she lingered in the booth, her presence a gentle melody, as if she were beginning to weave her own story, one lyric at a time. With notebooks scattered around her, she scribbled furiously, her brow furrowed in concentration as she gazed out at the rain, lost in thought. In the quiet moments, she revealed a softness in her stance that seemed at odds with the fierce persona of Savannah Ray. Occasionally, she would simply sit, lost in thought. With a weary gaze, Maeve cradled her coffee, the exhaustion evident in her demeanor as she observed Savannah. It was evident that the refills of water grew more frequent, arriving as if summoned, yet without the presence of Savannah. The request to wipe down her table hung in the air, a moment stretching just a heartbeat longer as Savannah looked up from her notebook, lost in her musings, to discover Maeve's green eyes fixed on her, not with indifference, but with in a moment charged with unspoken emotions, Maeve felt the weight of his gaze and instinctively averted her eyes, her heart racing with an unsettling thrill, preoccupied with an impeccably clean napkin dispenser on a rainy Thursday. In the quiet solitude of the diner, Savannah found herself lost in thought, her pen dancing restlessly as she grappled with a stubborn bridge in her latest song. With a gentle cadence, she tapped her pen against the notebook, lost in her thoughts, unaware of the world around her. The bell above the door chimed softly, yet she remained absorbed in her reverie, not lifting her gaze. Footsteps drew near her booth, where anticipation hung in the air. As if Maeve's familiar silent delivery was about to unfold, Savannah murmured softly, "Just the thermos today." "Thank you." Read, with thoughts swirling like a tempest. There was no sound of clinking porcelain as Savannah finally gazed ahead. Up Maeve stood there, cradling not a mug but a delicate plate, upon which rested a whimsically imperfect cinnamon roll, adorned with a generous cascade of icing that brings a playful sweetness to the moment. It appeared charmingly crafted and refreshingly different from the typical diner offerings. Savannah blinked, her heart racing. "What's Dave's experiment?" Maeve asked, gently placing the plate down, curiosity dancing in her eyes. He lowered his gaze with an unusual tenderness, carefully avoiding Savannah's eyes as he sought to rise above the moment. The dessert menu boasts of a recipe passed down from his grandmother, yet it resembles a chaotic scene of indulgence. But she paused, dabbing at her lips, with her hands resting on her apron. He playfully insisted that someone give it a try, teasingly declaring her the only willing customer. Here, the familiar sarcasm lingered, yet it was gentler, devoid of its typical sharpness. With a flutter of anticipation, Savannah gazed at the gooey mess on the plate, her heart racing as she looked up. A slow, genuine smile blossomed on Maeve's face, radiating warmth far beyond any theatrical grin. Dave's grandmother, a true embodiment of courage, grasped the fork that Maeve had quietly offered. It seemed perilous, the kind of peril that thrilled her. She took a bite, and to her delight, it was unexpectedly delightful, warm and soft. The cinnamon dances playfully against the overwhelming sweetness of the icing, creating a delightful harmony that lingers on the senses. Oh, she handled it beautifully. Dave's grandma truly is a remarkable woman. Make sure to tell him that. She swallowed hard, contemplating the words that could change everything. Perhaps he had a future that extended far beyond the confines of deep-fried mystery meat, a future filled with promise and unexpected adventures. A flicker of something danced across Maeve's face. Relief mingled with amusement as she leaned against the wall, her hip casually resting in a way that drew attention. Leaning against the edge of the booth, a posture softer than usual. "I'll be sure to share the glowing review." Savannah took another bite, savoring it. The silence had lost its tension. It was, in a moment of quiet intimacy, she gazed at Maeve, truly seeing her. The freckles danced across her pale skin, a delicate constellation that drew her in closer. Faint lines of weariness danced around her eyes, while the resolute set of her jaw softened ever so slightly. The shimmering facade of the pop star felt almost fragile. The atmosphere thickened unexpectedly in this serene moment with the fiery-haired woman who presented her with the most unfortunate pastries. "You know," Savannah spoke, her voice gentle and unguarded, a softness that Maeve had never encountered before. "I haven't had this much fun chasing." After so many years, she found herself twirling her fork in the icing, a nostalgic gesture that took her back to high school. "He was only after my father's wealth." And in that moment, Maeve halted, her casual demeanor vanishing as she sensed the tension in the air. Eyes widened in astonishment as Savannah's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. In a fleeting moment, the walls of indifference began to crack, and she parted her lips, perhaps to divert the impending tide of emotion. With a hint of irony, yet nothing emerged. Savannah pressed on, her words spilling forth in a cascade, out with a surprising candor, ignited by sweetness and the peculiar closeness of the. In a nearly deserted diner, Maeve felt the weight of exhaustion settle in. The games played by those around her, the endless desires of people seeking something, drained her spirit. The unwavering presence, always arriving with that ridiculous thermos, just to witness the way you roll your eyes. She let out a soft chuckle, a sound filled with warmth. The gentle anticipation fills my heart. The most genuine moment I experienced throughout the week, as I yearn to discover if I can capture, beneath that protective shell, even for a fleeting moment. She caught Maeve's surprised gaze, her own cerulean eyes shimmering with unspoken emotions. Eyes unexpectedly bare, devoid of the usual sparkle and cunning. "You awaken something within me. Put in the effort. Truly invest yourself." And I find a certain charm in how the silence lingered, a gentle hum filling the air. In the quiet of the kitchen, the distant clatter of Dave echoed softly, while the gentle patter of rain danced against the window. Maeve found herself lost in thought, her gaze fixed on the scene before her. Her expression remained a mystery for what felt like an eternity. But then, slowly and with a captivating grace, a smile began to bloom, brushed her lips with a tender caress, devoid of any smirk or sarcastic twist, but filled with a genuine warmth. Her slightly crooked smile lit up her face, softening the sharp lines and revealing a warmth that drew him in, lighting up her green eyes. "Oh, charming," Maeve said, her voice low and sultry, gritty yet infused with an unexpected warmth. It carried a whisper of enchantment, perhaps even a hesitant kind of love. "That's what you are, annoyingly, persistently, and ridiculously so." With a charming shake of her head, the smile lingered on her lips, leaving one to wonder about the unexpected surprise that had just unfolded. Layers of emotion enveloped her as Savannah's breath caught, captivated by the genuine smile that blossomed from an unexpected observation. The absence of artifice felt like striking gold, a dazzling explosion of happiness. She laughed, a wave of relief and joy surging within her. "Unravel it slowly, won't you? What more do you have for me, O'Sullivan?" Maeve's smile remained enchanting, unwavering, gently pushed the plate with the half-eaten cinnamon roll closer to Savannah, urging her, "Enjoy your little secret before Dave steps back in." Seeking a response, she held her gaze on Savannah's face, looking deeper than the surface, the allure perhaps for the first time to the woman beneath, as layers unfold in both directions. "Ways, Ray, don't think I haven't noticed yours peeling off lately." She turned to leave, then glanced back. The ghost of the... With a smile still dancing on her lips, she savored the rest of the scene, trying her best to avoid getting icing on everything. "Savannah." She watched him walk away, her heart racing with a joyful, frantic beat against her ribs. The dreadful coffee faded from memory. The thermos lost its significance, as Maeve beamed with a genuine smile, revealing Savannah not as the pop star, but as the person hidden beneath the surface, weary yet genuine. I savored the sweetness of the cinnamon roll, but the flavor lingered in a way that stirred something deeper within me. In that fleeting moment, the connection felt small yet profound, as the sweetness of being truly seen enveloped us both. The pursuit continued, yet the dynamics had transformed in a breathtaking way. They began to share their thoughts, truly connecting, and Savannah felt a flutter of excitement as she eagerly anticipated Maeve's next words in this intimate moment. The invitation, a humble note, was not crafted on elegant embossed cardstock, but rather hastily scrawled on the back of a weathered anchor receipt, its edges frayed and worn. On a rainy afternoon, a note slipped beneath the pristine mug beside Savannah's thermos read, "Bonfire at North Cove tonight at 9:00 p. Bring a jacket and keep your hopes modest. P. No thermos needed." Perhaps gazed at the take note of the familiar, flowing script, the easy assumption of warmth and connection, like a bonfire glowing softly in the night. Savannah Ray, it blared a cautionary tale in vibrant neon hues, a siren call of paparazzi pitfalls. The tension hung in the air, a delightful absurdity, as her fingers gently caressed the words, whispering secrets low, expectations that were quintessentially Savannah, infused with a self-deprecating charm that captivated the heart, began to gently dismantle her barriers, and the absence of a thermos felt like an intimate revelation. With a playful smile, she raised a tiny flag of truce, whispering to herself, "Of course she went," as if reassuring her heart in the midst of uncertainty. An intriguing allure, a respite from the harsh brightness of the diner, anything but the disquieting attraction she experienced towards the infuriating pop star. North Cove was a hidden gem of a beach, reachable only by she navigated the narrow, rocky path, concealed from the bustling main road, her steps deliberate and cautious. The salty tang of the ocean intensified as she descended, the roar of the surf echoing in her heart, replaced the diner's hum. And there it was, a single crackling bonfire, casting its warm glow like a whispered promise of love, dancing shadows on the wet sand. Savannah sat on a driftwood log, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun, the warmth of a flickering flame, not adorned in glimmering sequins or sleek leather, but rather in the embrace of well-loved jeans and a cozy, thick cable-knit sweater, wrapped in a cozy sweater, her hair cascading freely, shimmering in the flickering firelight like strands of spun gold. And she was tuning an acoustic guitar. No stage, no band, no blinding lights, just the soft whispers of Savannah, the fire, the ocean, and the vast star-strewn sky. She gazed upward as Maeve approached, her face aglow with the flickering flames. No dazzling smile, just a gentle, with an almost shy look of relief. She admitted, "I got lost twice." Maeve lied, shoving her hands into her jacket pockets, pausing at a respectful distance. The closeness of the moment lingering in the air was already unsettling. "Is this your idea of a five-star venue?" Savannah chuckled, the soft, inviting murmur that intertwined with the gentle crackle of the flames, creating the most enchanting atmosphere, the serene coastline, with only a whisper of chance for prying eyes. Gliding through the night on a kayak, she patted the log beside her, inviting him to join unless he preferred to linger in the shadows, ready to offer his thoughts from afar. As the night enveloped her, Maeve hesitated, her heart racing, before she gracefully crossed the soft sand, perching delicately on the very edge of the world, the log creating a delicate distance between them. The warmth of the fire enveloped them, a stark contrast to the refreshing ocean breeze. The gentle breeze danced through the savannah as she strummed a soft chord, the sound pure and resonant, filling the open air with a melody that seemed to weave through the heart. Look at this new treasure, Savannah remarked, her eyes locked on the delicate strings, so raw and unrefined, probably terrible. She cast a sideways glance at Maeve, a fleeting hint of vulnerability in her eyes. Her eyes, a depth Maeve had never encountered, not even during the sweet confession over cinnamon rolls, seemed to hold a sense of belonging that was undeniable. Here, with a fire crackling beside the sea, time seemed to stand still. Maeve's breath hitched as she gazed, lost in the moment, gazed straight ahead at the crashing waves. Suddenly unable to meet Savannah's eyes, Savannah took a deep breath, the sound of the ocean filling the air around them. The crackling of the fire and the gentle lapping of the surf filled the air, and then she began to play. The melody was sweet and uncomplicated, ethereal melodies entwined with delicate finger-picking. And then her voice soared. The voice, typically a commanding force meant for grand arenas, took on a softer, more intimate quality in this setting, gentle and deep, infused with a longing that Maeve had never encountered before. Wasn't a catchy tune. It was a heartfelt revelation woven into melody. The words transcended typical themes of affection or sorrow. They were, in a world where the sun kissed the horizon. A vivid savannah came alive with the gentle clatter of a ceramic mug, its sound weaving through the air like a whispered promise, while the flicker of candlelight danced in the shadows, illuminating secrets waiting to be discovered. Of a hesitant smile, the comfort discovered in piercing green eyes that seemed to look deep within. The glow she crooned about pursuing apathy like a tether to hope about a. In the midst of chaos, she discovered solace within the gaze of another, her heart pouring out melodies of longing and devotion, luxurious yet dreadful brews, and the surprising embrace of a spiced mystery, woven through phrases and moments with Maeve, recognized instantly, drawn directly from their peculiar tale at the salty anchor. You offer me water, never hesitating. Veil the tempest hidden within my gaze. You label me bothersome, yet you notice the fractures. Under the shimmering heavens, you construct your barriers of sharp words and commands, meticulously penned yet deciphered by the heart of your stronghold. Crumbles every time my name is called. Maeve sat utterly still, frozen in the moment. As the flickering flames cast a warm glow upon her features, a storm brewed within her heart, tumultuous and fierce, while the driftwood log crackled beside her, felt vulnerable, laid bare by the deep connection of the song. Each lyric was the spotlight illuminated moments she once thought were secret, private exchanges she had deemed trivial. Savannah hadn't just realized she had taken them in, transforming them into something profoundly exquisite. The vulnerability Savannah displayed as she poured her heart and soul into this melody, crafting it solely for him under the expansive heavens stretched endlessly. A breathtaking sight as the melody swelled to a tender peak, enveloping Savannah's, her voice deepening with a sultry intensity as she poured her heart into a melody about discovering something genuine amidst the thrill of the pursuit and the shadows of apathy, transforming into the sole reality I yearned to embrace. Then it vanished, the last echoes remaining in the salt air, before fading into the melody of the waves and the gentle crackle of the fire. Silence enveloped the scene, rich and profound. With a heavy heart, Savannah lowered the guitar, her knuckles pale as she clutched the neck tightly. She avoided Maeve's gaze, feeling the weight of unspoken words between them. Instead, she stood before the flames, her bravado melting away as the practiced charm faded. In that moment, she appeared so young. In that moment, Maeve stood on the precipice of uncertainty, the air thick with a mix of fear and anticipation, as if the very world around her held its breath, waiting for her next move. The desire to evade, to hide behind a veil of wit, was an undeniable force she could feel. Lighten the mood with a quip about the flames craving more driftwood, and perhaps take a moment to reflect on the chord progression. Anything to shatter this overwhelming tension. Closeness enveloped them, yet the words caught in her throat. The melody had been a cherished offering. In a moment thick with unspoken emotions, Savannah's expectant silence beckoned for authenticity. Slowly, Maeve turned her gaze, feeling the weight of the connection between them. Head turned. Savannah finally met her gaze, her blue eyes wide and searching. Reflecting, the flickering flames danced like shadows, enveloping her in a silence so profound that when her voice finally emerged, it felt as if it had been drawn from the depths of an unseen abyss. Was turbulent, softer than the whispers of the sea. It wasn't harsh words. It wasn't a... She paused, searching for the right words to express her feelings. But it was utterly unique, a declaration that only she could make. The perfect phrase, the shield striving to piece itself together, yet faltering beneath the burden of the melody and her expectant blue eyes sparkled with anticipation. A moment of silence hanging in the air. Before Savannah's face lit up with emotion, her features transformed, relief washing over her like a gentle tide, disbelief melting away, and pure, unadulterated joy illuminating her face. Her laughter rang out, a bright and startled sound that danced off the rocks. Terrible, she repeated, her voice thick with emotion. High praise indeed. Sullivan Maeve felt the whisper of a hesitant smile dance at the corners of her lips. She turned her gaze back to the flickering flames, a soft sigh escaping her lips as the tension in her shoulders melted away. Just don't let it go to your head. Darling, she teased, a playful glint in her eyes. Bomb, she mumbled, the sarcasm returning, but softer, warmer. It was still just campfire song. Savannah nudged her shoulder gently against his. The contact brief yet electric. The most enchanting moment by the fire. It's the most heartfelt piece I've ever composed, she murmured, her eyes lingering on Maeve's silhouette. Illuminated by the dancing flames, the space between them on the log felt electric, crackling with an intensity that mirrored the fire itself. The performance had concluded, yet something new, delicate and hauntingly authentic, had emerged, just begun in its embers. Part 6, Whispers and Worry, the delicate balance of. 3 days after the shattering of North Cove, Maeve found herself behind the counter, restocking the coffee filters. When Jenny walked in, she slammed her phone down, her eyes wide with disbelief. Maeve! Oh my God, what is happening? Maeve! He grunted, his gaze fixed elsewhere. It's you and her everywhere on Celebscape and Pop Hive. Everywhere. A chilling wave of fear enveloped Maeve as she seized Jenny's phone. The screen revealed a blurred, close-up image, and there was no doubt it was North Cove. The bonfire cast long shadows, illuminating 2 figures side by side on the driftwood log. Savannah's profile was soft, a gentle silhouette against the flickering flames, and unguarded. He turned towards Maeve, laughter dancing in his eyes, and Maeve, oh Maeve, was captured in a moment of pure joy. A soft and inviting glow radiated from her features. Her head tilted slightly as if lost in a delightful thought, tilted slightly towards Savannah. The closeness in the frame was undeniable. In this intimate setting, their bodies at ease, an electric bond thrummed between them, palpable and undeniable. Amidst the blurred edges, the headline beckoned with an alluring promise. Savannah Ray's Hidden Beach, on a date. The air crackled with intrigue as the mystery redhead entered the scene, causing the world to tilt ever so slightly. The familiar sounds of the diner enveloped them, setting the stage for an unforgettable encounter. The hiss of the grill and the clatter of dishes swirled around Maeve, creating a symphony of sound that made her heart race. Her breath caught, sharp and electric, as the atmosphere thickened with unspoken tension. An agonizing sensation invaded her. Every muscle in her body tensed, seeking refuge in the familiar embrace of safety. In the sheltered realm of the salty anchor, the cherished anonymity she protected with unwavering intensity had been shattered. It's merely a foolish picture, Jenny exclaimed, her words tumbling out like a cascade of emotions, completely unaware of the turmoil stirring within Maeve. But wow, you look so happy. And Savannah appears utterly enchanted. Is it serious? Are you? My dear friends, silence, Jenny, Maeve retorted, her voice sharp as she forcefully returned the phone to its place. Her hands trembled slightly as the memory of that night washed over her, the haunting melody lingering in the air, a reminder of the vulnerability they had shared. The tentative warmth transformed into something unsettling beneath the unforgiving scrutiny of the crowd. Her smile in the photograph now seemed like a mark, a beacon. As the bell above the door chimed with a fervent intensity, Savannah entered with a flourish, accompanied by a rugged man in a dark suit, her steadfast manager by her side. She likely appeared frantic, her complexion a delicate shade of pale beneath the subtle touch of makeup, her eyes wide with unspoken emotion. Her gaze swept across the diner, finally settling on Maeve. With a flutter of excitement, she hurried to the counter, oblivious to the curious stares of the few early patrons. Oh dear, my heart aches with regret. I can't fathom how they stumbled upon us. Savannah reached out, her voice trembling with concern. Her hand lingered just above Maeve's arm, and Maeve recoiled as though scorched, a silent plea escaping her lips. "Touch me," she hissed, her words sharp and low. The protective barrier she'd spent weeks of rebuilding came crashing down, leaving Savannah feeling more hurt and isolated than ever before. Flashing across her face, "Please, just listen. We can handle this. Marcus." She gestured toward the man, her voice laced with confidence. "He's my PR guy. We can issue a statement and take control of the situation. Narrative control it." Maeve's laugh rang out, sharp and empty, stripping away any trace of joy as she sought to dominate the unfolding tale. "Confront the reality of my existence laid bare across the digital landscape for others to scrutinize." She leaned forward, her emerald eyes shimmering with a fierce intensity, fueled by a tumultuous storm of deep-seated panic. "Do you understand what this is? This isn't just a story for you to weave. Savannah, this is my real life. My serene existence, an intimate existence that you carelessly pulled into your dazzling spotlight. My dear, I never wanted this for you. Savannah," she pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion. "I wanted to shield you from harm. That's why we sought a secluded place. I promised to shield myself." Maeve severed her ties with her. His voice rose, capturing the attention of every soul in the diner as Dave stood in the kitchen doorway, the spatula slipping from his grasp, forgotten in the moment. How by being Savannah Ray, simply by existing in your orbit, there is no shield from. She gestured passionately towards Jenny's phone, still showcasing the incriminating photo. "This is what unfolds when you draw near. This is the cost." Emotions spilling over, Savannah's eyes sparkled with sincerity and longing as she implored, "Please don't say that what we have, what's unfolding between us, isn't something to be taken lightly." The words burst forth from Maeve. It wasn't merely anger. It was a deep, visceral fear, a haunting dread of being utterly consumed and laid bare, bound by the gaze of the world. She loathed the thought of losing her very essence entirely. She pointed a trembling finger between herself and Savannah, her heart racing as the weight of her words hung in the air. This was a mistake. An innocent yet foolish error escaped her lips as she drew in a shaky breath, struggling to articulate the next words that tumbled forth. One shard of ice aimed directly at Savannah's heart. "I preferred the moments before the camera captured your essence, when you were merely bothersome, not perilous." Savannah stumbled back, her heart racing as if struck. The color faded entirely from her face, and the pain in her eyes grew more profound, into something akin to devastation. Her manager placed a steadying hand on her elbow, his expression grave. Maeve saw the wound she'd inflicted revealed a flicker of understanding dawning through Savannah's pain, a realization that Maeve wasn't merely fury coursed through her veins, mingling with the fear that gripped her heart. In that moment, she was faced with a choice. Her own survival took precedence over everything else. The delicate bond they had begun to forge only intensified the gnawing guilt that coiled tightly in M's stomach. "Just go," Maeve whispered, her voice barely a breath as the tension slipped away like sand through her fingers. From her, a lingering emptiness remained as she resolutely turned away, her thoughts sharpening with determination. The coffee filters her vision, blurring the edges of reality. "Please, Savannah, just go away." Silence hung heavy in the air, descended thick and suffocating. Maeve didn't turn around. She heard Savannah's, the breath caught in her throat, a gentle whisper from her manager, followed by a tentative pause. The gentle shuffle of footsteps echoed, the bell chiming once more, softer this time, only as the distant hum of a car engine gradually diminished, Maeve felt a flutter of anticipation. Did she dare to glance at the booth, nestled beside the lush ficus, where secrets and possibilities lingered in the air? Was devoid of warmth, no thermos to cradle, no radiant smile to brighten the moment. Only the faint trace of luxury lingering in the air, the scent of her perfume mingling with the haunting resonance of her own desperate, sharp words lingering in the heavy atmosphere. The diner enveloped her in a chilling emptiness, its vastness echoing her solitude as she gently urged Savannah forward, fled to safeguard her haven. Yet the triumph felt hollow, like the remnants of burnt dreams, as the lenses captured every fleeting moment. Though she may be absent for the moment, the scars remain, a delicate bond irrevocably fractured by the harsh glare of attention. Savannah. They found themselves trapped in a web of emotions, and Maeve wondered if either of them could ever mend what had been broken. Part 7 revealed that distance only deepened the ache in their hearts. The silence that enveloped the salty anchor after Savannah's departure was anything but peaceful. It was a heavy, hollow stillness that lingered in the air, of a severed connection. The booth by the ficus stood hauntingly vacant, a testament to what once was, to the peculiar spark that had dissipated. The ritual of warmth and comfort had come to an end. The dreadful coffee lingered, unopposed. As Savannah found herself in a world that felt like a grand stage, she found herself trapped in every performance, each one tinged with a deep, lingering sorrow. Smiles seemed like delicate brushstrokes on a canvas, while interviews transformed into treacherous landscapes of obligatory joy. As the atmosphere thickened with tension, the relentless paparazzi transformed into ravenous vultures, their lenses eagerly searching for any hint of vulnerability. In the shimmering glow of the city, Savannah, the fiery redhead, found herself heartbroken, lost in the echoes of love that once filled her world. After the fallout of their beach date, their shouted questions pierced the air like sharp barbs, twisting the knife deeper into their hearts. May have transformed her penthouse, once a haven of exquisite elegance, into a place filled with longing and heartache. In the dim light of the cavernous room, where shadows danced and the air was thick with unspoken dreams, the cold songwriting sessions stretched into the early hours. Each melody emerged like a whispered secret, longing to be heard, shifting to a somber tone. The words laid bare, the playful teasing vanished, replaced by a deeper longing. Powerful melodies lingered in the air, filled with longing and unspoken words. As the empty booth sat quietly, cloaked in dust, in the tranquil embrace of emerald stillness, where your playful jests once danced, my heart lay bare beside the flickering flames. In this moment, all that surrounds me is a fleeting spark in the darkness. You deemed me perilous, a captivating enigma. In the aftermath of a glittering tempest, I found myself adrift, a solitary figure marooned in the depths of longing, relentlessly pursuing the shadows of your indifference, like a treasure lost to time. Now the only echoes are the shadows of the crowd in my gaze. She played one such demo for her producer Leo, who winced, running a hand through his hair. Oh, the allure of untamed beauty, so raw and captivating, it leaves one breathless. It's disheartening. The label will demand something that fits the radio, something I have no interest in. Savannah, I just can't bring myself to care about their expectations. Her voice faltered, stripped of its usual passion as she gazed out the window at the city lights fade away, leaving only the warm flicker of a bonfire on a secluded beach. This is what was real. She didn't speak Maeve's name, yet the specter of the redhead lingered in every note she stumbled upon. As she navigated the familiar roads toward the coast on her cherished diner days, she found herself circling the block, battling the urge to linger just a moment longer before finally summoning the strength to drive away. Could see the familiar neon sign. The irresistible pull to step inside and catch a glimpse of Maeve's enchanting eyes would flicker with a tempest of emotions. Anger, relief, indifference, each a tangible force. Yet the haunting recollection of Maeve's fierce anger, the weight of the accusation, kept her at bay. The turmoil had seeped into her very being, and keeping her distance felt like the only way to shield herself from the chaos. The atonement she could provide at the diner lingered in the air, the emptiness just as intense. Yet, she navigated her transitions with a mechanical grace, yet the spark of her dry humor lingered, adding a touch of warmth to her otherwise precise demeanor. But it possessed a newfound edge, sharper and more brittle, as a customer playfully remarked about the soggy texture. Fries, crisp and golden, held a charm that far surpassed the dampness of those unflattering snapshots. Her voice cutting through the air with a chill that could freeze time itself. The coffee stood still, a moment suspended in time. As the joke fell flat, heavy and lifeless, the customer blinked, a mixture of confusion and surprise dancing in their eyes. Jenny caught the gaze of her companion, worry etched across her features, a silent conversation passing between them. With Dave, unexpected blunders unfolded. A departure from Maeve's usual grace. Golden eggs glistened under the morning light, their sunny sides inviting and warm. A cascade of rich coffee flowed, spilling over the edge of the counter, the fragrant liquid soaking into her apron, a reminder of the chaos and charm of a bustling kitchen. She gazed at the chaos, momentarily paralyzed, a flicker of deep frustration crossing her features. Across her face, a flicker of concern danced before she seized a rag, her movements filled with a fierce determination. "Whoa, Maeve, are you okay?" Dave inquired. With a careful gaze, she observed her scrubbing the peachy, and without lifting her eyes, she snapped, "Just embracing my chaotic spirit feels fitting." As she turned her gaze away from an empty booth awaited new patrons. And as they settled in, she approached with the practiced efficiency, her eyes never lingering, always focused on the task at hand. Her movements were measured and aloof, yet Jenny couldn't help but observe. "She flinches," Jenny whispered to Dave one afternoon, "every time the bell rings around 3:30 and she never wavers," Dave murmured, scrubbing the grill with a fervor that spoke of unspoken emotions. "The entire atmosphere feels unsettling, as if the very essence has been drained away, leaving everything in a heavy silence." In the hushed ambiance, he stole a glance at the kitchen door, where Maeve was seemingly occupied with checking the stock. A sparkle of mischief lingering in the air did a number on her worse than I thought. Maeve immersed herself in her work, pouring all her energy into it. Extra shifts spent in the quiet, volunteering for the deep clean that no one desired. seeking something to fill the silence and drown out the haunting echo of Savannah's laughter lingered like a sweet melody, her hesitant smile flickering softly by the fire, while the profound hurt in her eyes spoke volumes when Maeve entered the scene. He had labeled her as perilous, and that image lingered like a spectral presence, lurking in the shadows of every search for her name. She had erased her social presence, but the past refused to fade away. Though the media apps on her phone ceased to draw her into the world of news, the sensation of exposure remained, a persistent whisper in the background of her thoughts. The soft whisper of unease lingered beneath her fragile facade on a rainy Tuesday. His day like clockwork. The clam chowder special lingered, congealing under the warm glow of the heat lamp. While the diner embraced a hushed stillness, Maeve leaned against the counter near the register, her gaze lost in the mesmerizing dance of raindrops cascading down the window. Jenny's soft humming filled the air, a gentle melody that wrapped around them like a warm embrace. Gently wiping the tables, a melody drifts through the air, reminiscent of the sweet tune Savannah would hum on occasion. Jenny inquired casually, "That lively one, what was it called?" Radiant bliss, or something made him not moved, never paying attention to her noise. She whispered softly, the deception lingering like bitter smoke. She recalled each melody, every discordant note. Savannah. As she jotted down her thoughts in the notebook, Jenny shrugged. It just feels so still without it. And without her efforts to stir things up, "I'll bribe you with fancy coffee," she chuckled. Attempting to lift the atmosphere, Maeve pushed off the counter abruptly. The movement was sharp as she declared, her voice lacking any warmth, that we had salt shakers to fill. As she approached the supply closet, the familiar edge of her sarcasm seemed to fade away, replaced by an unexpected softness, edge replaced by a hollow efficiency that was somehow worse than the spark. The lingering traces of reluctant amusement faded away. The hidden warmth that Savannah had so carefully nurtured extinguished, leaving, beneath the facade of the Ice Queen, a heart lay hidden, colder and more impenetrable than ever before. The rain fell softly outside, echoing the somber beauty of the gray, desolate landscape. Within both women, Savannah poured her heartache into melodies that the world might never hear, while Maeve diligently scrubbed the counters with a sense of longing, an intensity that couldn't wash away her remorse. The space separating them was not merely measured in miles, but rather a profound divide shaped by trepidation and fame surrounded them. Yet they found themselves submerged in the quiet of their separate worlds. The pursuit had come to an end, leaving only the cold indifference that Maeve had embraced. What once served as a protective barrier now seemed to be the sole truth. And it was a lonely expanse. To be Part 8 Rainy Day Return. The rain poured down with a fierce intensity, a tempest that swept through the air like a passionate embrace. The rain pounded relentlessly on the roof of the weathered anchor, each drop a fervent whisper of longing, transforming the parking lot into a swirling, shimmering pool beneath the harsh glow of fluorescent lights. The lights hummed softly, echoing a sense of solitude as Jenny had slipped away, her departure cloaked in the quiet of the evening. An unbearable ache throbbed within her, yet they both understood it was the heavy silence that hung between them. Dave was busy shutting down the grill, lost in his thoughts. Metallic clangs echoed through the empty space, each sound resonating with a haunting intensity. Maeve wiped down the counter with a methodical yet almost fierce determination, as if each stroke held the weight of unspoken emotions. Gently caresses the rag, its soft squeaks echoing against the laminate, as if attempting to erase the lingering presence that haunted booth 3. The hour had long passed closing time. The open sign was off, enveloping the diner's interior in a cloak of shadowy mystery. The soft glow of the kitchen's fluorescent light spilled through the pass-through. While Maeve jumped at the sudden flash of lightning that illuminated the room, the streaming window was interrupted by a crack of thunder that rattled the glass and echoed in her heart. Already, a clenched fist in her chest skipped a beat. 3:30, her traitorous mind, whispered her as the bell above the door chimed with an unsettling jangle. With a gentle swirl, Maeve turned, her rag suspended in midair. "We're closed," she announced softly, her voice carrying a hint of finality. Her voice, tinged with an unexpected edge, carried the fragile tension that had woven itself into the fabric of her daily existence. As the silhouette in the doorway stood still, a dark silhouette framed by the tempest of last night, water cascading off it in delicate rivulets, creating a mesmerizing scene. The shadowy stain on the welcome mat lingered, a haunting reminder of what once was, too intimate in its presence, too reminiscent of the past. Height and posture, softened by the gentle embrace of rain and shadows. Then another flash of lightning struck as Savannah's breath caught. This was no glamorous figure from the world of pop stardom, an intricately crafted vision, a soul adrift, her Dodgers cap a symbol of lost dreams, soaked through, plastering strands of darkened blonde hair to her temples and cheeks. No sunglasses, no makeup. Her face, her complexion was a delicate shade of pale, the bare vulnerability of her lashes accentuated by the rain that had left dark smudges beneath her eyes. In the quiet of the night, she donned a simple, drenched gray hoodie and jeans, both clinging to her form as she wandered through her thoughts, clinging to her frame, making her appear smaller, younger, and impossibly fragile, like a delicate drop of water, streamed down her face, indistinguishable from tears, as her hands clutched like an presented were two cardboard coffee cups, steam still curling gently from the rim. Amidst the gentle patter of rain, Maeve's heart fluttered as she caught sight of the logo that stirred something deep within her, the Daily Grind. A quaint, slightly pretentious coffee shop just a few blocks away, Maeve's beloved spot. The place Savannah had once dismissed as overpriced and trendy, yet whose rich, dark roast Maeve found herself yearning for with an almost sacred devotion. Didn't venture deeper. She lingered at the threshold, water gathering around her well-loved sneakers. Her cerulean gaze locked onto Maeve radiated an intensity that pierced through the shadows as the silence enveloped them, heavy with the rhythm of the falling rain and the soft murmur of, in the stillness of the kitchen, the fridge's clanging had ceased, leaving Dave standing motionless in the doorway. Caught in a moment of unexpected pause, with a spatula forgotten in her hand, Maeve stood frozen, her eyes wide with disbelief. She felt as though time had stopped. Words eluded her, and movement was a distant memory. The sight of Savannah left Bear vulnerable, his defenses shattered. Drenched and trembling as he held her close, the coffee surged through her veins, a warm embrace that short-circuited the anger, the fear, the carefully crafted indifference. It struck her like a bolt of electricity. She moved with the intensity of a storm brewing on the horizon, taking a hesitant step forward, then another pause just within the threshold, allowing the door to linger ajar behind her. As the tempest howled and the scent of rain-soaked pavement filled the air, her eyes remained fixed, unwavering. The vulnerability in her eyes was a haunting blend of terror and raw, unfiltered emotion, utterly captivating in its authenticity, an enchanting display, devoid of ostentation, revealing Savannah laid bare by the miles that separate. Maeve's lips quivered as she struggled to find her voice, swallowing hard before attempting to speak once more. The words, when they finally emerged, were unrefined, drawn from the very core of her soul, softly, almost lost in the rhythm of the rain. Her voice trembled as she cleared her throat, the sound barely breaking through the downpour, dripping from her chin. She extended one of the coffee cups, a small, desperate gesture. With a gentle smile, I handed you the steaming cup of dark roast, an extra shot just for you. My heart raced, a tremor of excitement coursing through me as our eyes met. She trembled with anticipation, her gaze lingering on the cup before darting back to him. Savannah's rain-streaked face revealed the carefully constructed walls of the Ice Queen persona she had so diligently reinforced over time. Weeks of unbearable silence seemed to wash away in the relentless rain, as the haunting echo of her own harsh words lingered in the air. You should have done better before the cameras arrived. Savannah's voice cut through the air, laced with a sharpness that betrayed her shame. Took another step closer to the counter, the air thick with unspoken pain and longing that pulsed between them. She gazed down at the cup cradled in her hands, then lifted her gaze to meet her blue eyes, shimmering with a mix of bravado, charm, and the allure of fame. It was all so intoxicating. Washed away, what remained was a pure, aching need. I miss you. Maeve, the words linger in the air, struck with the force of a tempest, raw and unfiltered, leaving no room for pretense. Maeve flinched, her fingers tightening around the damp rag she still held as she caught sight of the exhaustion lingered in Savannah's features, a testament to the genuine sorrow she carried. The courage it took to arrive here, so vulnerable and exposed, was palpable in the air around her, and unarmed, her heart fluttering with the possibility of rejection once more. She caught sight of the woman who penned melodies about ceramic mugs and sweet, warm pastries that revealed the hidden flaws. She glimpsed the soul whose absence had shaped her very existence. In the muted shadows, a lingering dread clung to the air, the haunting presence of the cameras evoking a rush of vulnerability that refused to fade away. A chill settled in her stomach. Yet as she gazed at Savannah, soaked in clutching her beloved coffee like a gesture of reconciliation, warmth began to bloom within her. Whispering those three elusive words, the fear was suddenly eclipsed by a rush of something deeper. Something overwhelmingly intense was the awareness of how profoundly she had longed for Savannah, not the pursuit, not the competition, but her presence, her laughter, her irresistibly infuriating charm. The way she transformed the dusty ficus booth into the heart of everything left Maeve speechless, as mere words seemed utterly insufficient. With a sense of peril, she moved with a slow, deliberate grace, placing the damp rag down on the counter, The soft squeak of the laminate echoed in the quiet as she gracefully rounded the end of the counter, her movements initially hesitant and uncertain. With newfound determination, she paused just a few feet from Savannah, close enough to catch the glimmer of raindrops clinging to her lashes. As the cool air enveloped her, Savannah felt the damp fabric cling to her skin, and she held her breath, caught in a moment suspended in time, eyes wide with hope, trembling at the brink of despair, perhaps reaching out not for the coffee cup. Her hand, trembling slightly, moved toward the heavy deadbolt on. The diner's front door closed with a soft, metallic snick, sealing away the tempest outside, the chaos of the world, and the relentless gaze of the paparazzi. Silence enveloped the quaint diner, and then her delicate hand glided toward the handle of the glass. With a decisive motion, she drew the door shut, the latch engaging with a satisfying click, muffling the tumult beyond. As the rain fell softly, creating a gentle rhythm, she finally turned to meet Savannah's gaze, her emerald eyes locking onto Savannah's with an intensity that spoke volumes, blue ones harboring a tempest of her own trepidation, surrender, solace, and an awakening. In a moment filled with unspoken tension, the barriers still lingered, yet the drawbridge had been lowered. Without uttering a single word, Maeve extended her hand, inviting a connection that hung in the air like a promise, and gently took the offered coffee cup from Savannah's cold fingers, her own hand brushing against Savannah's in a fleeting moment of connection. As their eyes met, a spark ignited between them, but she turned away, gliding back toward the counter, leaving a lingering sense of what could have been. The path opened, the silent diner suddenly feeling less like a fortress and more like a sanctuary for both of them. Get in here before you catch a chill, she said, her voice raspy, yet warm, a hint of concern lacing her words. The familiar chill felt almost tender, a beckoning, a yielding. And cleanse your... My heart raced as I approached Savannah, who stood there, momentarily frozen, caught between disbelief and the whirlwind of emotions swirling around us. An overwhelming sense of relief washed over her rain-drenched face, leaving her trembling and utterly spent. A smile graced her lips as she stepped fully inside, gently closing the heavy wooden door behind her. The door behind her closed with a gentle thud, sealing away the tempest outside. The sound lingering in the air, the end of a unique separation. The pursuit had concluded. The racing had ceased. They simply needed to confront the rain-drenched, coffee-scented essence of our togetherness. Laid bare and unguarded in the stillness of the moment, the heavy door clicked shut, sealing away the world outside. The salty air lingered, whispering secrets of longing and unspoken desires, as the heart quietly yearned for connection. Shut, sealing them in the soft glow of the fluorescent lights within the closed diner. The roar of the rain transformed into the muffled drumbeat echoed against the roof and windows, while the air was heavy with the lingering scent of stale grease and disinfectant. Mingling with the dampness that enveloped the space, the soft embrace of cotton mingled with the rich, comforting aroma of dark roast coffee, enveloping Savannah in a warm, inviting moment. With a gentle grip, Maeve glided back behind the counter, each movement purposeful and graceful as she arranged her surroundings. Savannah stood quietly beside the register, her gaze averted as she concentrated on selecting two pristine items. Her hands, usually so steady, trembled slightly as she poured the thick diner mugs, the steaming coffee from the daily grind cups, the dark liquid swirling as she gracefully slid. One mug glided across the counter towards the stool where Savannah had delicately settled, her hips gently leaning against the surface. Across from her, he held his mug, warmth radiating from it, enveloping her cold fingers like a gentle embrace. The stillness between them deepened, a quiet anchor in the moment. With a heart both taut and fragile, Savannah gazed into her coffee, the rainwater cascading gently from her fingertips. Strands of hair fell onto the weathered Formica countertop as Maeve watched the rivulets carve delicate paths, each one a whisper of a story waiting to unfold. Avoiding Savannah's gaze, the electric tension of the storm outside had coalesced into the air surrounding them. Burdened by the weight of unspoken words, Savannah broke the silence, her voice trembling with emotion. Drained by the weight of her feelings, she whispered, "I meant it. I miss you." She lifted her blue eyes sparkled, shimmering like the ocean under the sun. As they caught the harsh overhead lights each and every day, the diner felt desolate, a reflection of the emptiness that enveloped her life. Maeve tightened her grip on her mug, seeking solace in its warmth. The ceramic radiated warmth, a sensation that lingered in the air between them. "You have a life that many only fantasize about," she murmured, her gaze lingering on him. Words flowed like a gentle breeze, each syllable a soft whisper of longing. The familiar defense mechanism kicked in, a dreamlike haze enveloping the moment as Savannah released a brief, delicate sigh, a joyless chuckle, trapped in a golden prison where each smile is meticulously planned and every word is carefully chosen. Examined each connection with care, I embody Savannah Ray around the clock. And it's weary, she inhaled unsteadily, her gaze dropping once more as she reflected on the journey that had led her here. That ridiculous thermos. Always bickering with you. It was the one moment I could truly be myself, messy, annoying, and far from perfect. A single tear fell, slipped away, following the delicate trail of raindrops on her cheek. And then I shattered the moment. I brought the spectacle right to your doorstep. In that moment, a raw confession lingered, heavy and palpable. Maeve's gaze followed the solitary tear as it descended, feeling a profound connection stir within her heart. With a tightness in her chest, she savored a slow sip of the familiar, robust coffee, taste grounding her. You didn't ruin it alone, she confessed, the words heavy and foreign on her tongue. I panicked. At last, she locked eyes with Savannah, summoning the strength to maintain that delicate, yearning look that transcended mere imagery. It was more than just a photograph. In Savannah, it was as if I were enveloped in a whirlwind of emotions, where every intimate moment felt both profound and tangible. What we shared was suddenly laid bare for outsiders to dissect, to evaluate, to claim as their own. She averted her gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. I've dedicated my entire life to constructing barriers, warding off others, embracing simplicity, seeking the comfort of the familiar. She motioned toward you, vaguely towards Savannah. You surged through them as if they were mere tissue paper, and when the world revealed a crack, my heart raced with panic. I pushed you away, believing it was the only way to protect my heart and keep everything safe once more. She inhaled deeply, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. Her admission, laced with trepidation, painted you as a perilous figure. It was the panic that spoke, revealing the depths of her turmoil. Fear. It wasn't fair. You weren't the danger. The spotlight was the thing you, trapped in a whirlwind of emotions. I felt a deep-seated fear that it would consume me entirely, leaving nothing but shadows of who I once was. As she lingered in my thoughts, traced the rim of her mug with a fingertip, yet pushing you away didn't shield me. It only left me feeling more vulnerable. In the depths of her solitude, a tempest of anger and fear swirled within Savannah as she remained completely still, her heart racing with unspoken emotions. Her coffee lay abandoned, as the realization blossomed in her eyes, tinged with a bittersweet ache, but also a deep sense of relief. So the Ice Queen act? She inquired gently, her voice laced with uncertainty. The remnants of their past connection lingered, as a subtle, nearly undetectable smile broke through. Delicate yet resilient, she was a masterpiece of wit and unwavering determination. She turned to Savannah, her emerald gaze revealing a fragility that had only been hinted at during the warmth of the bonfire, now laid bare. Oh, how I missed you too, Savannah. More than I ever wanted to confess, even with all the little annoyances that came with it. In moments that tested her patience, Savannah reached across the counter, her heart racing with a mix of frustration and longing. His hand lingered in the air for a heartbeat before softly enveloping Maeve's, which lay beside her mug. Her skin felt cool from the rain, a delicate contrast to the warmth of his own, but the touch ignited a spark of warmth within Maeve, breaking down the final barriers of her resolve. Maeve didn't pull away. It doesn't have to be the spotlight or nothing, Savannah whispered, her thumb brushing lightly over Maeve's skin. In the quiet embrace of twilight, we can uncover shadows, genuine ones, like those that linger in North Cove, like the ones that dance here after the world has hushed. Only the two of us, no prying eyes, no staged moments, just Maeve and Savannah, the waitress who shies away from the spotlight, and the pop star who longs for a moment of peace. As Maeve gazed down at their entwined fingers, she couldn't help but notice the contrast of her own roughened hands, shaped by toil and labor, resting beneath Savannah's soft, cool embrace. A gentle shiver coursed through her. The contrast was striking, yet the bond between them was undeniable, felt more tangible than anything she'd ever experienced. The fear lingered, yet it was suddenly eclipsed by the overwhelming, exhilarating draw towards this woman who recognized her, truly recognized her, and had not turned away. Away, just the two of us. The words lingering in the air, tasting both strange and yet so perfectly right. She lifted her gaze back to Savannah's face, where tear tracks intertwined with rain, revealing exhaustion, a flicker of hope battling against the shadows of fear. Her blue eyes sparkled with a raw honesty that stripped away the carefully constructed facade of Savannah Ray. In this moment, it was simply Savannah, unguarded and real, beautifully, heartbreakingly real. The space between them across the counter vanished. Maeve leaned in, drawn by an undeniable connection. An undeniable pull drew them together as she met him halfway. The kiss was unlike any Savannah had ever experienced. Neither the typical display of allure, nor the timid brush of a near encounter by the flickering flames. It was a languid, profound connection that resonated with a bittersweet longing, a true clash of relief, heartfelt apologies, deep longing, and the thrilling rush of fear, surrender to something genuine. Maeve's hand came up to cradle Savannah's rain-cooled cheek, her fingers tangling in the soft strands of hair that framed her face. Damp blonde hair, Savannah's free hand clutched Maeve's arm, seeking solace and stability. In that moment, it was just the two of them, stripped of all distractions, with only the sweet, refreshing kiss of rain to envelop them. Luxurious brews exchanged in moments of raw honesty, enveloped by the deep stillness of solitude. In the cozy diner, the kiss lingered like a promise, softly exchanged between lips, a silent vow that spoke volumes. An understanding blossomed in the serene stillness following their tempest. As they gently separated, foreheads touching, breaths mingling with the world outside, the rain-streaked windows seemed to create an insurmountable barrier, making everything beyond feel achingly distant. The only thing that mattered was the tender warmth of Savannah's hand in hers, the silent connection reflected in her gaze. The thrilling and heart-stopping truth of our connection. The show has come to an end, and this is it at last. Was Real Part 10 just us? As the world continued its relentless pace, unchanged and indifferent to our unfolding story, the paparazzi continued to hover. The spotlight blazed with unyielding intensity, and Savannah Ray remained at the helm of her empire. Yet in their meticulously protected world, everything shifted as the wild pursuit unfolded. An intricate dance of longing and trepidation evolved into a softer cadence, more profound and genuine, with moments stretched into languid, heartfelt encounters, became their haven, not lavish dining establishments with velvet ropes, but strolls along windswept, deserted stretches of. As the sun began to rise over the horizon, the beach was a canvas of soft pastels, wrapped in cozy sweaters, their fingers intertwined to ward off the morning chill. They shared whispered secrets and tender glances, the world around them fading into a distant memory. A thermos filled with Maeve's unexpectedly delightful diner brew, a secret upgrade that Savannah had insisted upon, sat quietly amidst the gentle patter of rain. Afternoons lingered in Savannah's unexpectedly warm and inviting apartment, a hidden gem tucked away from the bustling world outside. Preparing meals with a touch of chaos, sharing laughter over the mishaps of charred pasta, and, as the sauce dripped onto the table, the gentle patter of rain outside created a soothing backdrop to their effortless exchange. A moment suspended in time between them, discovered that Savannah was unexpectedly awkward in a kitchen not filled with personal chefs. Savannah found out that Maeve had an intimate understanding of the hidden depths of 90s punk bands, where private moments were passionately guarded. The vigilant team surrounding Savannah now operates under carefully defined boundaries, mastered the art of crafting distractions and ensuring secret escapes as they crossed paths in the quiet embrace of the night. The diner became their secret haven, where the salty air mingled with the soft glow of neon lights, and the gentle hum of the coolers set the stage for whispered dreams and stolen glances. Savannah would pour her heart into lyrics at the counter, while Maeve meticulously sorted through inventory, the silence enveloping them like a warm embrace, punctuated only by the soft sounds of their shared moments. The soft clink of glassware mingles with Savannah's gentle hum of a new melody, as they find solace in each other's company, often simply sitting together in comfortable silence. Booth 3. Indulging in a slice of Dave's latest slightly improved dessert experiment, lost in sweet conversation about nothing and everything. In a world where Maeve navigates the whims of her irritable landlord and the relentless expectations of a demanding producer, she finds herself caught in the delightful chaos of fame. Yet, amidst the absurdity, she discovers the simple pleasures that make life truly enchanting. A perfect cup of coffee, the genuine bond that blossomed from what was once a delicate spark. The bedrock Maeve witnessed Savannah cast off the Savannah Ray persona as if shedding a burdensome cloak. In their moments of solitude, vulnerability danced between them, intricately woven into the very essence of their shared time. After a long and demanding day filled with the relentless buzz of the press, a wave of exhaustion washed over me. The frustration of a creative block loomed heavy in my mind, intertwining with these deep-seated insecurities that fame often brings, casting shadows over my thoughts. Couldn't erase, Naive offered no empty words, just her unwavering presence, her gentle insights that pierced through the chaos, and the steadfast warmth of her caress. She discovered the art of comfort. Savannah's worries are soothed not by extravagant displays, but by the gentle assurance of presence, the art of listening, and the tender reminders that love can be found in the simplest of moments. She showed her through every gesture that she was cherished for who she truly was, not just the dazzling persona everyone else admired. Turning to cherished Maeve's groundedness, she refrained from pulling Maeve into her glittering world. Instead, she sought, finding solace in Maeve's genuine spirit. She adored the determined tilt of Maeve's chin when she debated a notion, the infrequent burst of laughter that came forth unexpectedly, the manner in which she, calloused fingers intertwined with her own. She discovered the delicate rhythms of Maeve's life, his early shifts, his quiet moments. On Sundays, she finds herself lost in the pages of well-loved paperbacks, her heart swelling with fierce loyalty to Dave and Jenny, their love story unfolding like a cherished dream. She would never confess it, but Savannah's love revealed itself in tender, subtle gestures, like recalling Maeve's favorite brand of a fiery condiment, leaving a pristine, high-quality sharpener for her beloved kitchen blades in silence. As the plumber arrived to mend Maeve's endlessly dripping faucet, an unexpected testament of love began to unfold. In a swirl of mystery and allure, Savannah's latest album has emerged, cloaked in an enigmatic artist campaign that leaves fans breathless with anticipation. The melodies were unique, unrefined, deeply reflective, and devoid of excess. Critics lauded the unexpected depth, the lyrical sophistication, and the haunting vulnerability that resonated throughout the work, whispers of hidden feelings, raw confessions, and a love that blossomed through trials, as secrets danced in the air, about the ache of lost love and the flicker of hope, yet no identities were revealed. Only Maeve held the secret close. Maeve felt the whispers of their tale entwined in every sound, the clinking of a ceramic mug resonating like a heartbeat in the background. The aroma of coffee mingled with the remnants of old fries, casting a wistful shadow beneath the flickering neon sign. Lullaby. As the words lingered, you see the echoes of laughter danced beneath the shimmering heavens. As the melody of the Bonfire song blossomed into a breathtaking symphony the foundation of the story culminates in a tender acoustic ballad, aptly named The Earning, which resonates with heartfelt emotion. It encompassed the thrill of pursuit, the trepidation, the rush of anxiety, the longing that spanned miles, and the profound, yet silent affection that lingered beneath it all, crafted in the quiet moments, away from the glare of attention, without a grand plan, just the gentle rise of coffee steam in the air. In the embrace of your unwavering gaze, I find my safe haven. The only recognition I desire is the warmth of your love. There were no sparkling diamonds, no sweet serenades, just the haunting sight of you slipping away from every wall I leaned against. You made me strive for something that felt just out of reach. For every beginning, the most cherished reward is this gentle heart, which has attuned itself to the melodies of the album. Alone, nestled on Savannah's sofa during a rainy afternoon, she found herself lost in thought while Savannah was at the studio. The distant sounds of the diner and the beach whispering through her mind. The trepidation, the downpour. Their tale transformed into something exquisite and timeless. Tears pricked her eyes, not of sadness but of a profound, almost overwhelming emotion, comprehending that Savannah had infused her essence into her creations, not for recognition but as a heartfelt missive that only Maeve could truly understand. She had respected Maeve's limits by maintaining her secret while passionately declaring her affection in the only way she understood. Later that evening, Savannah discovered Maeve still nestled on the sofa, the album playing softly on repeat as she lingered nearby. With a fluttering heart in the doorway, I whispered, "So, in the spirit of brutal honesty, did I finally write something that soothes the soul?" Maeve looked up, her green eyes radiating a warmth that Savannah had come to cherish. She treasured the moment, not with extravagant words or lyrical expressions, but by extending her hand with quiet sincerity. Savannah glided across the room, surrendering to Maeve's gentle tug as she was drawn down onto the sofa beside her. Maeve rested her head against Savannah, a soft sigh escaping her lips. Savannah leaned closer, the melody wrapping around them like a warm embrace. "Not terrible," Maeve whispered, her voice heavy with unvoiced emotions. With a surge of emotion, she gently squeezed Savannah's hand. "It's definitely not terrible," Savannah replied, her eyes sparkling with hope, smiled, her cheek gently resting atop Maeve's fiery hair. Inhaling the comforting aroma of coffee mingled with the clean scent of diner soap. Beneath the luxurious lather, the world outside with its relentless demands and dazzling distractions still lingered. But here in a carefully constructed haven of serene moments and deep connection, it wielded no influence, leaving Maeve still unfazed by its allure. The allure, the sparkle, the fleeting pursuit, all while she brandished her sharp humor like a shield. Though its edges had softened, still rolled her eyes at Savannah's antics. Amidst the occasional dramatics, deep within the serene layers of her protected heart, there remained an undeniable completeness, completely and deeply enchanted by the woman who viewed her defenses not as obstacles to overcome, but as a safe haven, to earn the privilege of sharing just between us. It was more than sufficient. It was all that matters.